you are in the middle of this conversation, both within India and within a global context, absolutely at the ground level, cutting edge, people trying to give their kids breakfast and trying to work out where we get clean water from and how we sleep safely. How has the conversation sounded to you so far? And what is the things we need to discuss from your perspective?
So I just want to thank all the speakers for their amazing capacity to make these very complex conceptual issues into simple, understandable, and logical and caring phrases, because very often intellectual framing of things almost becomes neutral in terms of North and South, power, powerless, history. And I think that all of them have produced this, and I'm going to preserve these recordings because they are so inspirational. So I want to say that for me, what the last speaker said was that the earlier colonization was extractive. Well, data is also extractive. Other people know more about the poor living in the global South than they know themselves, their countries know about themselves, or their universities know about themselves. I live in a city called Mumbai, where for the last 45 years, there have been people who are trying to gentrify part of the cities, which are last swathes of slums. And I found there were more PhDs and more theses that I could find in northern universities about that area than I have in India. So knowledge, the extraction of knowledge, data, a larger global perspective is also something that is deeply unequal in today's world as it was before. And I think that it takes a lot of courage for an institution like you to bring all these heavy lifters and somebody like me who's a grassroots activist in the same discussion, because that's what I call the democratization of bringing a new knowledge framework, which we need to have in order to deal with this.
I think we might have lost Sheela. Hopefully she'll come back in a second. Democratize, I've written it down. Democratization of knowledge. I think we might have that as the ISRM strapline from here on in. Whilst we're waiting for Sheela to come back, and we're all suffering from internet issues. I think Sheela is back with us right now. Let me just make sure that I've got her as a co-host. And you should be able to come back in now, Sheela. You're back. Good. Welcome back.
So I made some notes, and I would love to hear your. So having talked about extraction and everything, I feel that the comments about all of us, Nelson Mandela and India and oil. A young Polish girl at one of the Brussels events at the EU reminded our German friends, why are you talking about India when you are taking more Russian oil than anybody else? You knew 25 years ago that this is a dangerous situation, but you're still doing it. So my point is that the ability of powerful people to align, non-align, bully others, blackmail others into falling into their processes is going to happen as much in the climate space as it happened in the development history of our universe. And I think we haven't yet developed really strong alignments that allow people like me to learn the articulation that I need to do contestation, which I get from things like this, or for you to get inspiration from what we do. So I just wanted to say three things. I love the conversation about trust. It goes back to what women in my informal settlements across the world that I work with tell me. It takes a lot of courage to explore something new. If you don't have a relationship of trust, you don't know whether that person is going to exploit you, take advantage of you, or destroy you. And I think that's a very, very important thing. And yet, everybody in the modern world treats trust as an old-fashioned concept, because you find other people like yourselves on LinkedIn or this or that, and you feel you can transact business on the basis of that. So I think this discussion, especially for you who talk about risks as a very central concept, is very important. I have a very interesting friend who is an anthropologist who talked about trust and cosmopolitanism. And he said that cosmopolitanism is not about expanding your cultural or your knowledge borders, but having a capacity and a confidence to go beyond your cultural, national and other borders to extend an understanding of what's happening elsewhere and accommodating that in your knowledge frame. There's a fantastic YouTube thing on a simple aspect of learning that. And the person I'm talking about is a gentleman called Arjun Appadurai. But this cosmopolitanism and trust is a very interesting thing to look at for me. And I think that when trust is broken, and it's very much like trying to resuscitate somebody who's dead to start breathing again. Because trust, when it's broken, doesn't happen. And then finally, this issue of contrasting peace, trust, and collegiality with anxiety, brittleness, and fear is a very interesting juxtaposition of how you face the unknown. Again, related to risk, again, related to the fact that we're living in a world in which most people have to deal with the fear of the unknown. And so I felt very strongly that it's such a important thing to continue and exponentially expand dialogues that bring really very, very different perspectives, different things to help us accommodate each other's knowledge and realities in this environment of trust. So thank you. And I have just loved this process.
Sheela, thank you. I've just actually put up a link on LinkedIn.
I saw that.
Link to Arjun Appadurai's The Cosmopolitanism of the Urban Poor. Again, this is the miracle of instant stuff. This is now we have instant access.